I think if you would tell the doctors that when I was born that I would do other things I've done, they would probably tell you that it's a lie. I mean, they've told everybody when my condition has been told when they're born that they're given a few weeks to live. But obviously, I've made a long way.
And sometimes it's also important to recognize that family and friends might not always tell you what you need to hear. They're not the professionals.
Obviously, being on social media, people are behind the screen and they don't care about the things to say or don't care about hurting other people.
Hi, everybody. This is Denise Morales, your host for In My Feels But I Heal podcast, talking about everything mental health related, your journey, where you're going, where we're not going, our challenges, our achievements, and just seeing where we are every common day people and everything that we're doing. But I'm super excited to have a special guest with you here today, which is my wonderful and beautiful cousin. And his name is Victor, and I'll let him introduce himself. So, who are you?
Okay, so I am Victor Quiroz. I am 20 years old. Obviously, like she said, her cousin, and I'm an entrepreneur as well, just like her. I do social media. I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm a graphic designer, and I have my own clothing brand as well.
That's badass, and that is multiple jobs. And so, really, the neat ingredient today is that we're all suffering through something and we're all going through something, but there's something really unique to my cousin's journey in which we want to talk to you about and just share with the world about his condition and the things that he goes through and the things he struggles with having this condition. And so, can you inform us of what it is that we're really getting into today?
Basically, my mental health journey when it comes to my condition. I suffer from Epidermolysis Bullosa, which is a genetic skin condition. I was born with it. It's in my DNA. And basically, what it means is that my skin is very fragile. I'm missing a layer of my skin that basically bonds the other layers together, which means that my skin is very sensitive, very fragile. It tears very easily. Um, I get open wounds, like if they're third-degree burns, blisters, and it affects my inside and my body as well. And yeah, basically talking about my mental health when it comes to that and
Yeah.
my journey overall.
And it's interesting to like experience the world with you because it's not like I met you and then I knew you had this condition. Like I was raised with you, so it's not like it came out of the blue or I didn't know what was going on. And so just to let y'all know, we were a really active family when we were
Yeah.
kids. Like I remember my cousin wearing like a soccer suit and like him playing soccer. Was that
Yeah.
was that true?
Yeah, I used to play soccer every day.
Yeah, so like he lived a very active lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think like my tío and my tía did a really good job in
Yeah.
just trying to keep normality as most as possible. Like what do you remember of your childhood and like your condition?
Honestly, yeah, it all comes down to my parents because it could be very different. I think parents when they have a kid that has special needs or special care, they can either go two different ways. They can either shelter the kid and protect them at all costs, and unfortunately, a lot of parents do that, which causes their kids to suffer when it comes to socially, and maybe not develop social skills and awareness and be able to be independent. But thankfully, my parents were the opposite, where they let me just be a kid. If I got hurt, I got hurt. As long as I have fun, we'll deal with it when it comes. So yeah, I was very active. I played soccer. I went to school normally. I played other sports as well. Yeah, just lived a very active and normal lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think I can attest to that too. I feel like seeing you grow up and like seeing your lifestyle now, like you haven't let this condition really be a limit to your personality and who you are. I think he's traveled more than I have, honestly, and especially abroad. And so I'm like, how do you do this all? I feel like maybe sometimes people see you and they see a disability and they're like, he can't do much.
Yeah.
How is that for you?
I think if you would tell the doctors that when I was born that I would do other things I've done, they would probably tell you that it's a lie. I mean, they've told everybody when my condition has been told when they're born that they're given a few weeks to live. But obviously, I've made a long way. But yeah, I think just growing up and realizing that this is gonna be my life for the rest of my life. I have no days off. There's no switch to turn it off and take a break. So I think me personally, I chose to just not let it stop me, not let it get in my way, and I just let want to do like whatever makes me happy. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a very like a good way of looking at it. It is a disability, but it doesn't stop me from doing what I love and being happy and achieving goals that people would even think of.
Yeah. And I'm really proud of you for achieving all the goals you've achieved, especially with your newest project, which is Fuerza. We're
Mhm.
actually wearing the brand today. And tell us a little bit about Fuerza and the meaning behind it and where this started for you.
Honestly, it started with a tattoo.
He
Oddly
has a
enough,
tattoo
I
on
have
the
a
side of
tattoo
his
on my
neck.
neck. So I wanted to get a tattoo that resembled my strength when it comes to my personality and my disability. And everybody gets the usual strength tattoo, but I want to do something a bit different and kind of more towards my culture. So I went with Fuerza, which means strength in Spanish, obviously. And as a as a social someone that does social media for a long time and has been a Twitch streamer as well, something that we always do when that comes normally is just having our merch. Everybody like wants to rep our merch and make things that our viewers and our supporters could wear. But I didn't want to do something something simple that everybody does. I wanted to do something like above and beyond,
Hmm.
like an actual brand that people would be proud
Right.
to wear, and not something that's like gamerish, like nerdy. So I decided to make my own brand called Fuerza. Basically, it's kind of like a lifestyle streetwear brand, and yeah, I'm looking to make some cool designs for other people to wear.
Nice, nice. And when you originally chose the phrase Fuerza, what was the meaning behind it for you?
Just strength. Like living with a condition like this. There's no days off, so I gotta be strong no matter what. I gotta look at the bright side of things, and that's really what it means to me is just being strength and being independent and being strong and you know living through adversity.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that because I can only imagine that it takes a lot out of you to get to this point where it's like, I need to continue every day, try to be normal every day. What is normalcy for me? And so, what are the most challenging days look like for you?
So yeah, like as someone who goes live pretty often, people always see me as a happy, smiling person. But yeah, no, I do have very very tough days. There's times where my condition really gets you know, it gets rough, and I do have bad days where I just want to just shut down the world and just take things for myself. But I would say that yeah, it could get very overwhelming. It could be very difficult, and like I said, there's no days off, so I can just take a break and not have to deal with it.
Hmm.
Every day, there's something I gotta deal with when it comes to my condition, whether it's a wound, changing a bandage, a blister, whatever the case is. So literally every day, I have to at some point, care for my skin in some way.
Yeah.
So it could get very overwhelming, but I try not to let those days, last too long and move forward. And tomorrow's a better day, a new day. So
Hmm.
I try not to let it stop me.
And earlier you were talking about like how parents like shelter their kids and stuff like that. And I do believe in the essence of like it takes a village to raise a kid or a
Mhm.
child. And how has your village been for you, and how has it been for them to care for you?
I mean, their support is everything. Like, for them to give me the freedom to do what I want and travel and not let anything stop me. I think that's probably the best support I could ever get. Obviously, they are scary. When I left like abroad for a few months, obviously it's very difficult. But as long as I'm happy and I'm okay, that's all that matters to them. So yeah, but no, their support is honestly what means the most. It's the most important thing I could ever ask for. And I've been lucky enough that I've had very supportive parents, very supportive siblings, just family in general. So I am. It's been good.
It makes all the difference. And it does. The support systems is very important whenever it comes to your mental health.
Mm.
There's such things as like the biopsychosocial spiritual model, which I like to like follow and sometimes do an evaluation on my life to see like where am I, where can I grow, and things of that sort. And part of that is your social circles, like your friendships, your relationships,
Yeah.
your family, um, and like what am I lacking in and what can I do better in. And what has been the most helpful when it comes to supporting you with this condition?
I was just say just having people around that understands that sometimes you just aren't, able to go out and have fun and live a normal lifestyle. That sometimes you have to, stay home and care for yourself, but they also still are able to uplift you and be there for you and to hear you out or just visit you or take you out, for some food sometimes. Just it's stuff like that that really helps a lot. That I think anybody with the condition or without would greatly benefit from. Just
Yeah.
having someone there at all times that you
Mhm.
could count on.
Okay, okay. And so tell us a little bit about like your mental health, and some of the transitions you've gone through with your mental health and in your lifetime.
Yeah, so I mean, like growing up, I was a very normal kid, so I didn't really have things to I guess deal with. Like my condition was it was a pretty stable condition at when I was young. Up until I was maybe like 2021 is when my condition kind of worsened a bit. So my mental health did change a lot in those years. Um, but yeah, just understanding that I gotta deal with this no matter what. So I can either be happy or I can let this condition take over my life and stop it from being happy. So yeah, I decided to just push forward and make the best of it. Life is a beautiful thing, and you truly make them like whatever you want from it. You can either live it to the fullest, or you could let any small thing take over it.
Yeah. And that's really important to share too, because sometimes there's things that we're either born with or circumstances that happen in our life, and we just have to kind of evaluate our reality and be like, this is my reality, so I can
Mm-hmm.
either sink in this or I can thrive in this.
Exactly.
You have to kind of choose the mentality that you want to take on, because if not, you can live in a very depressive state,
Yeah.
and let that carry you on. Was there you said in 2021 that was like your most challenging time. What was going around that time in your life, and how was your mental health impacted? What did that
Um.
look like?
So at those during those years is when I saw my body change the most when it comes to my condition. So with my condition, we kind of have like chronic areas where some parts of our bodies are just pretty much always open and raw. We have some areas that are good that never have any wounds, and yeah, during those years is when I saw my body change the most when it comes to my areas. New areas flared up and they just didn't go away. I mean, things I'm dealing with even up until now. So it's very difficult seeing your body change and progress. And I mean, like everybody knows with this condition that it can either get better or it could get worse. And for most of us, it usually gets worse. So having to understand that and seeing it happen before your very own eyes, and having to just see weeks and months and years go by and things still don't get better. It's difficult. But like I said, it's just something I deal with, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's nothing I can do really. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned something interesting about like the time where you see yourself not recovering. That affects your mental health a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm currently working with kind of like personal injury patients, and a lot of the things that we talk about is that sometimes it's hard to get through some of the mental, um, like like mental capacities of like, okay, I'm hurt, I know I'm in pain, when your body is physically in pain, and when your body is not healing, you have a constant mental reminder that I'm not okay. So it's harder to
Yeah.
get through things mentally because physically your
Mhm.
body hasn't surpassed it. But when you're living with a chronic condition, um, how do we wrap our minds around the chronic condition and our mental health and be like, okay, like I know I have this chronic area that's not healing for a while. Is it that you keep caring for it and mentally you start easing up? Or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I guess it's just you kind of come to the realization that this is what you're dealing with, and I mean, yeah, you just kind of you grasp it and you understand it, and you just do whatever you can to make it better. It's difficult, but yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no other way to deal with it than just deal with it basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be very overwhelming.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
And have you ever in the past sought any mental health professionals?
I believe in like when I was ninth grade to like 10th grade is when I took therapy for a while,
Hmm.
which honestly helped a lot. At that time, I was going through a lot when it comes to just the grief of our grandmother
Hmm.
and just my own mental health in general. So I did seek professional help, and honestly, it helped a lot. I saw them, I think, 2 times a week for about 4 months.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, no, it benefited a lot.
Hmm. So was it school based care, or was it care outside
I was
of
school
the
based.
school? School
Yeah.
based. Okay. Okay. Um, and so the reason I asked for it is because that changes your dynamic too. Because like whenever it's school based care, you get pulled out of class
Hmm.
and you get some extra assistance and care. But when it's outside, then it's kind of self pay, and you have
Yeah.
to figure out like how to get this mental health aid. But school counselors are definitely a resource as well.
Yeah.
What's something that you want to share about your mental health in this time?
Right now, I would say mental health is doing pretty good. I've gone through some very rough years, but right now I feel like I'm in a good state. I feel like I've been happy. I can actually say I've been happy for a good while now, which is great. obviously having good mental health and a good outlook on life definitely helps with having a chronic condition. Just being able to have a positive lifestyle and a positive mindset definitely just helps your body just feel a lot better in general. So yeah, I think right now I'm doing really good. I hope it continues. But yeah, honestly, I couldn't be happier at the moment.
I'm happy for you. And I know there's like days where it's not as great,
Hmm.
some weeks, and I know that you try to keep your followers like up to date on like your life. How is it being on the public eye? Because I feel like you've been in the public eye for many years.
Yeah,
I remember seeing news articles as early as what 2020,
I would say probably like 2019.
2019 news articles, news stations. Like, I feel like you've been followed around,
Yeah.
and your lifestyle has always kind of been in some type of media and platform. How is the external commentary affect you?
I mean, I think as someone that's been on social media for a long time, I have very thick skin when it comes to things like that. Obviously, being on social media, people are behind the screen and they don't care about the things to say or don't care about hurting other people. But like I said, I've been on social media for many years, so things like that don't bother me. I try my best to give people a good outlook on my condition and just myself in general. I understand that there's things I cannot have a filter to. I don't want to share everything about my condition or just myself in general. So I try to keep a good balance between my personal life and my social media life.
Hmm.
But no, I mean I would say anything that comes with articles and just being in the news and being on the spotlight. I guess I try to make the most of it, and the things I share are usually positive things, so that helps a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in the social media for a long time, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, and it is important to have like that sense of boundaries
Mm,
of like what am I going to share and when I'm not going to share.
exactly.
And I feel like for a long period, and I think because social media was hot and new, it consumed our lives,
Hmm.
and like we were seeking the attention, we were seeking the likes, we were seeking the
Yeah.
followership. But as you get older, you become a little bit more private, a little bit more
Hmm.
reserved, and I definitely feel like it's even getting to that point for myself. I'm
Oh,
like,
same.
I don't think that I want to be sharing all of
Yeah,
this
a hundred
information with
percent.
everybody,
Yeah,
and everybody being my stuff. Or like, if you really cared and know me, then you're part of that inner circle that
yeah,
has access to me.
exactly.
Not that everybody should have access to you. But then you brought up this interesting point about how people behind the screen can be a lot meaner,
Oh yeah,
in which
oh yeah.
there is like scientific articles behind it about how like cyberbullying is a lot more up on the rise because they can't physically like see you
Hmm.
say something verbally to you, and they probably wouldn't have the courage to say it in person. But it's a lot easier to get with these Twitter hands and like
Exactly.
type away and say something nasty to people, but not knowing the effects that it could have on a person that
Oh yeah,
maybe isn't mentally as strong.
yeah, for sure. No,
But
yeah, it could affect a lot. No, yeah, people just aren't mentally, like, I guess, there to be able to handle those situations. I mean, I've met people that aren't really on social media that get those comments that just kind of ruins the day for them. But I mean, I all I can say is just you're never gonna see this person.
mhm,
You don't know who they are. They don't know who you are.
yeah.
So why let it get to you? Why let it ruin your day?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, and maybe there's also like a cultural standing behind that
mm.
too. I feel like Latinos do a lot of internal bullying. It's like you
Oh
can't be
yeah,
my biggest bully when my mom already bullies me.
oh yeah, for sure.
So like, how do you feel like culture plays into this?
Oh yeah. I mean, growing up with older brothers, that didn't treat me any different. I'm good.
Shout out to
I
the cousins.
yeah. Oh yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I've heard worse. So
Mhm. And so how do you see this condition? Because I know that you've done a lot of research behind it, and it is something that isn't as highly focused. Like, what are the stats? Like, what does science look like these days for your condition, and what did it look like in the past? Because I also know that you mentioned there's some type of new medications
mhm.
coming out and things of that sort.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's amazing that my parents were able to pull through the way they did and care for me the way they did. Being from Mexico and not knowing English, not knowing anything that had come to do with healthcare and just hospitals in general at their at their age, and like I said, not knowing English is difficult. So honestly, I don't know how they did it, but props to them because they did an amazing job. First of all, um, but as far as numbers go, honestly, I would say like here in Texas, I've only known about maybe 5 to 6 people here in Texas. So it's extremely rare. I noticed a lot more in like California and stuff like that. I've met a few, but yeah, no, the numbers are very low. We do have like a pretty active community, like on Facebook, and
Okay.
we do well, they do like kind of like community like gatherings where
Mm-hmm.
everybody just visits one place, and they do what's called like a derma care conference where doctors go and everybody shows up and kind of has a good time, interact with the people that have a condition. There's also camps that kids go to that they have specialists, they have people with condition that are older that can help them, kind of give guidance as well. So there's a lot of things that kids can do nowadays, which is great because as someone who didn't grow up with that kind of support group, obviously would
Yeah.
benefit a lot. Just knowing there's people out there
Mm-hmm.
that are with them that can share, things that they would have never thought about or help in some way is amazing. But yeah, no, it's extremely rare still. Yeah, I've only met like a few people, but it's a pretty big community out there.
And so, how were you introduced to these communities? Because, right, you kind of mentioned like Tio and Tia coming here, not knowing the language, so language
Mhm.
barrier, but still being able to navigate and get you the help that you needed. Um, what was it for you to get an introduction to these communities and support systems?
So honestly, it was pretty different for me because basically when I was around, I want to say like 16, 17, I had a person that handled my supplies that would send me my like bandages and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and she knew a lot more people with my condition than just me. So when I was like maybe 18 is when I asked her about it, like, can I meet other people? And so she's the one that told me to reach out to Facebook, join a group, introduce yourself, and meet new people, and that's what I did. So that's kind of how I got introduced to everything.
So you were curious too,
Yeah,
like to find other people.
yeah, because growing up, I didn't know anybody until I was maybe like 15. I knew about one person
Mm-hmm.
that was here, I think, in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
She unfortunately passed away a few years later. Um, but yeah, so I grew up not knowing anybody. Like as someone who was young, I understood that I wasn't the only one, even though I had never met nobody or even
Okay.
known about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of just had this understanding that I'm not alone,
Right.
you know. But yeah, once I got older, I did have this intrigue of knowing, meeting people and kind of getting meeting like how they are, maybe get some help from them or stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. And that was another part that I was gonna ask, like, how was it for you growing up and having this condition? And was there ever a point where you felt like I am alone in this?
Yeah, like I said, no, not really. I don't know what gave me this like feeling that I wasn't alone, but I just kind of knew it. Like something that people would tell me all the time when I was younger is like you're not alone, and like I didn't really like understand it, but I just knew without them telling me like I wasn't alone. So it was a bit difficult. I think that if you're growing up now in this condition, it's so much better for you to have this outreach to somebody that's maybe your age they could talk to and maybe pitch ideas back and forth.
Right.
But for me, honestly, like I said, I had a pretty normal lifestyle, so I didn't really need that kind of support. And my parents did an amazing job regardless. So yeah, honestly, and I also kind of like that I was able to grow up as a really normal person and not worry about you know not thinking of myself as different as I am, and just kind of live like a normal human being, I guess.
That's good. That's good. And I feel like you transcending from this stage of like K to 12 education to like um, a more adult version of you. How was that transition? You leaving the educational system? Was there ever a point where you're like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do?
I think everybody kind of goes to that stage unless you go to college and you kind of have this path of where you want to go. But
Look, even with college, we still didn't know what to
oh
do.
yeah,
I'm still
trust
lost.
me,
No,
I
I'm
know.
just playing.
But no, I think as someone like me, I always had many ideas that I wanted to do. Like I always had a passion for art. I had a passion for video games, and so I guess I didn't know the path I wanted to take, but I kind of had ideas, and I mean it worked out because like now I'm kind of doing both of the like both things I really enjoy and I'm very proud of and very like in love with. So
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't really have a path, but I kind of like knew what I wanted to do, and it worked out for me, fortunately.
Yeah, I feel like your longest following has been around video
Oh yeah,
games, and
for
that's
sure.
been very unique to see you play. Because if you haven't seen him play live, pretty much when he posts, part of it is him and his face and you in the controller,
Yeah.
and then the screen of his gameplay. Um, how has the gamer community been for you in supporting this?
Honestly, I would say that they're some of the most like understanding and just nicest people I've met so far. So being on Twitch, I think the community there is a lot different. People are very loving and caring and understanding, and they just want to see you succeed, which is
Okay.
nice. So like, when I got introduced to Twitch, honestly, like my community there is probably the best one I've gotten on any platform. So it's been good. You know, it's been good to meet people that just want to see me have fun and be happy and see me succeed. So yeah, I would say like people on Twitch are definitely like some of the like best people I've met so far.
That's good. That's good. And I'm sure it makes like all the difference in your life whenever you are able to like hop onto these platforms and get the outpouring support that you do. Like even right now, like you just went on live and you had like close to 100 people ready to like outpour and support you.
Yeah,
Um, it's like people look for that encouragement that you are pouring out to the world. And I do believe that whenever you're pouring greatness into the world, you kind of receive that back.
yeah, and I agree because that's kind of like what I try to do. You know, I even if I have bad days, I always try to put a smile on my face and give them my good vibes and like personally, I like building a community. I like getting to know my viewers. I like getting to know how the day was. You know, what they do for work, what they do for school, stuff like that. So yeah, I always try my best to give my best foot forward, to them because I know that's what they'll give me back.
That's true. That's true. What can you tell to individuals who are suffering with their mental health and have chronic conditions that affect them on a daily basis? Like, what do you recommend for them to do or supports? What do you have to say to them?
I would say if you do feel like you need someone to talk to, definitely reach out. Whether it's a counselor, whether it's therapy, whether it's people around you, whether it's someone that deals with the same things that you do that are able to understand you better. Definitely reach out. Honestly, having someone to talk to, just vent to, is probably the best thing you could ever ask for. It helps a ton. Just getting your words out, being able to express yourself, being able to just talk about the things you're dealing with is probably the best thing to do if you're dealing with mental health. Um, and everything else, I would suggest say like just keep moving forward. Things do get better. There's many things you can do regardless if you have a condition or not. Yeah, I mean, I would say don't let it stop you, and you could genuinely achieve greatness. Just, I mean, like I have.
Yeah, and thank you for that message because I feel like sometimes we did sit in our silos and say, like, I am the only one going through
Mm.
this. I am the only person suffering. Um, and sometimes the reality is that there's so many people in the world. We're all in some type of suffering. It
Yeah.
just might look a little bit different, but there is a means to getting support, getting aid, whether it's a family, a friend. And sometimes it's also important to recognize that family and friends might not always tell you what you need to hear. They're not the professionals.
Hmm.
And so going and getting professional mental health aid sometimes is a better route to go as well because
Yeah.
they know how to support you and what you're going through and give you coping tools and mechanisms to kind of help mitigate some of the anxieties that come with it, some of the depression that is ongoing, or some of the fears with lifelong conditions to kind of help you find some peace. Because if this is the only one life that you are to live, live it as happy as you
Exactly.
can, live it as peace as you can, try to be as fulfilled as possible as you can. Um, and I recognize like I am a abled body and I'm grateful for that, but not everyone is. And so
Hmm.
like for my friends and family members that like are going through something, like get the help.
Yeah.
Um, because like there's always something more to like
Exactly.
look forward to.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's nothing to be ashamed of to get help. I feel like growing up in the Latin community,
Hmm.
I think a lot of people have this stigma that mental health doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But no, don't be ashamed of getting help. If you're a man, if you grew up in this Latino household that have this machismo stigma, it doesn't matter. Any help, you'll feel much better, and you'll be grateful that you took the step to get help.
Yeah. And that's interesting you mentioned that because our own culture will suppress on like you getting
Yeah.
some of the support that you need and sometimes even belittle your experience and saying like, oh, that made you scared. Like, oh, let me give you something to cry about
Hmm.
or like get over it. Like there's other shit to worry about. And you know, you have to recognize that maybe the needs for our older generations were a lot different than our younger generations, especially like if your priority when you get to the United States is survivalship and food, you're not focused on love and belonging. So, like some of the hierarchy of needs in there,
Yeah.
the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's what I'm talking about. But the priorities are just different. But when you have secured your food insecurity, love and belonging, you get to a point where you're maybe now focused on your self-awareness and like, how do I fit into this world? How do I fit into my dynamics and friendships? Then you get to really focus on yourself.
Yeah.
When you're not worried about these other external things.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Victor, for being on the podcast with us today.
Of course.
I appreciate you taking the time to be here and support us. To our followers, how can we support you?
You can follow me on social media. I go by Vuzerk, Vuzerk, on any social media platform. TikTok, Twitch, Instagram. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
you can visit my website as well to cop some merch, Vuzerk.com as well.
Yes, and if you would love to keep supporting podcasts like this one, please do donate towards our podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on our website. We do have newsletters that come out. We try to host things like workshops, self-care Sundays, and our regular podcasts online. And also just bring together a mental health community that wants to see each other thrive and be part of our healing journey. So thank you for tuning in to In My Feels But I Heal podcast, and see y'all next time.
Peace.
Peace.